Hi, you guys. It's circle time again. I'm so glad you're here with me. It is Wednesday, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started, okay? Hello, hello, how are you? Hello, hello, how are you? How are you this special day? I'm so glad you came today. Hello, hello, how are you? All right, you guys, I'm so glad you're here. Let's do our counting, okay? Let's turn around. Yesterday, we did the number 26. So after 26, what number's next? Does anybody know? Let's see if you're right, okay? Let's start counting. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. 27. Good counting. All right, you guys, let's jump right into our letters, okay? We have gotten through so many letters. Look at that. Let's review their sounds, okay? The A says A, the B says B, the C says K, and the D says D. The E says E, the F says F, the G says G, and the H says H. The I says I, the J says J, the K says K, and the L says U. The M says M, the N says N, the O says Ah, and let's see what's next, okay? All right, the first letter we're going to do today is the letter P. P, P, P. The P says P. The P says P. Every letter makes a sound. The P says P, like popcorn. P, P, pop. Yeah. All right, so I have some pictures of some things that start with P, right? Because I always do. I don't have a picture of popcorn, but that is one that we could put up there, isn't it? All right, how about this? This is an animal that likes to live on the ice, and they waddle. What animal is that? A penguin, yeah. How about, what do you call this? Something Mom uses on the stove. A pan. Yeah, or it could be called a skillet, but a pan, yeah. Ooh, this is an animal that likes to live in the dirt and the mud, and it goes oink, oink. A pig. Yeah, a pig. Pig. Ooh, here we go. What is this called? A plant. Yes. Ooh, does anybody know what this one is called? What animal is this? A Panda Bear. Yeah, a panda. Panda. And here we go. What is this thing called right here? Someone who jumps out of an airplane might use well, I hope they would use a parachute. Yes. Yeah, a parachute. We get to see that around our town sometimes, don't we? The parachutes. All right, so we're going to practice writing the letter P. So I'm going to borrow this because remember, my pen's not working. I'm going to have to get myself a new pen. All right, to write the letter P, you're going to go straight down, then you're going to come back up to the top, and you're going to go around and stop in the middle. Okay, so let's get our finger pencils out. You're going to start at the top. You're going to go down to the bottom, go back to the top, and go around to the middle. Yeah, okay? One more time. Start at the top. Whoop, that's too high, isn't it? Go down to the bottom, come back to the top, go around to the middle. Good work, you guys. I hope you're practicing those letters. All right, so let's sing our song. The P says P. The P says P. Every letter makes a sound. The P says P. Good work. The next letter is the letter Q. And the letter Q makes the qu, qu, qu sound. Can you do that? Qu, qu. The Q says qu. The Q says qu. Every letter makes a sound. The Q says qu. Good work. All right, we have a few things here that start with the letter Q. The first one is a lady who wears a crown, and she sits on the throne next to the king. What is that? What is her name? She's the queen. The queen, yes. Here is a piece of money called a quarter. Quarter, yeah. Ooh, here's a bird called a quail. Quail. Have you ever heard of a quail? Some of you might have. I don't know. Quail. Ooh, here, this is a blanket that somebody sews together. It takes little pieces of fabric and sews them together in a design called a quilt. Yeah, my auntie likes to make quilts, and they are beautiful. All right. Ooh, what does it mean when you go shh? They want you to be quiet. Quiet. Shh. And does anybody know what this is? Some of you might say it's a clue. It's a question mark. Question mark. Yeah. So that's the letter Q that says qu. Okay? Let's write the letter Q in the air, okay? So if we're going to write the letter Q, it looks just like an O, like we did yesterday. The letter O. We're going to make a circle, just like this, a circle. And then you're going to put a line through it, okay? So let's make our circle. Big circle. Then we're going to come to the inside, and we're going to put a line through. Okay, one more time. Big circle, line through the middle. Okay? That is it. All right, let's review all of our sounds with the P and the Q. Ready? The A says A, the B says B, the C says K, and the D says D. The E says E, the F says F, the G says G, and the H says H. The I says I, the J says J, the K says K, and the L says L. The M says M, the N says N, the O says Ah, and the P says P. The Q says Qu. Good work, you guys. All right, I want to read you a Dr. Seuss book today. This one is called Daisy Head Maisie Head. Daisy Head Maisie. I always thought it was Daisy Head Maisie Head, but it's Daisy Head Maisie by Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss wrote the book, right? All right, here we go. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true, and I hope such a thing never happens to you. But it happened, they say, to poor Maisie McGrew, and it happened like this. She was sitting one day at her desk in her school in her usual way when she felt a small twitch on the top of her head. So Maisie looked up and she almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on. A daisy was sprouting right out of her head. Oh my goodness. Behind her was sitting young Herman Butch Strudel. This looks like a daisy up there on her noodle. It doesn't make sense why it couldn't be so. A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, the brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless, one is growing on Maisie. Hey, look it, cried Butch, right here in this room. Daisy had Maisie, she's bursting in bloom. Miss Sneecher, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense! Some child here is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing on in her hair? You know that a daisy should never grow there. But teacher, said Bush, I saw the thing rise right out of her head with my own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. But Miss Sneecher had heard quite enough of this talk. Maisie, hold still. Let me get it at that stalk. Ouch, yollered Maisie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I'll bet that those roots go away all the way to her brains. The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy had Daisy had Daisy had Maisie. Children, be quiet. Good grief and alas. Miss Sneecher was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I've never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll just have to come to the principal's office and show Mr. Grum. Now the principal, good Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation, about long division and multiplication. He knew all the answers, why oceans were deep, why skies were so high, and why mountains were steep. He should have the answer to this thing on Maisie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine daisy. I've seen them quite often in fields growing wild, but never before on the head of a child. Now, what in the world ever made this thing sprout? I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. It says daisies grow on the land. They grow between rocks. They grow also in sand. It mentions right here that they can grow in a pot, but mention the head of a girl, it does not. Daisies, it says, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and in Spain and Peru, in India, France, and Idaho too. They grow in South Boston and also in Rome, but why should they grow on this little girl's dome? Say, look it, said Maisie. It's wilting, it's drooping. How wonderful, Maisie. It soon will be dead. You'll be rid of that daisy. In just a few minutes our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Grum. Take her back to class. Then the principal saw a most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But the daisy was part of poor Maisie McGrew, and Maisie was starting to wilt too. Teacher, said Grum, you know what I think. They're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. That daisy, that girl's the worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in that room down the hall. There's quite a few numbers that I've got to call. Get Maisie's parents on the end of the line. I need them here quickly while there is still time. On the phone, Maisie's mom said, what's all the fuss? Thank goodness to Betsy. I'll catch the next bus. A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered while holding a customer's shoe. Yes, this is... Oh, no, I really must go. A doctor should see her, the principal said, and an expert on plants like the one on her head. So she called Dr. Elsenbert, who said, "What a trick! My stethoscope's packed. I'll be there in a tick." "Wait, Doc," said the patient. "I'll come right along too. My brother's a vet and he knows this McGrew." When he heard Finch the florist grabbed for his shears, "I'll be there just as soon as my truck can shift gears." Meanwhile, poor Maisie lay down on the couch. The daisy slumped down on its leaves in a slouch. But the window was open because it was warm, and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. "Bees! Bees!" The faster she ran, the faster they flew, so Maisie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who cupped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat. Thatcher said, "I'm no fool," and ran after Maisie back to the school. Principal Grum didn't know what to do. "It's worse," cried Miss Sneecher, "much worse than we feared. The daisy and Maisie have both disappeared." Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe. Finch the florist, Mr. Einstein too, Mr. Eisenberg, Bart's patient, and Mrs. McGrew. Then through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pane shut so the bees wouldn't catch her. Jumping Maisie McGrew to the floor in a splatter, with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. "My poor little daughter, that daisy, it's true, is going to faint," cried Mrs. McGrew. "Tut-tut-tut-tut," said the florist. "There's no need for tears, just because there's a daisy between her two ears. I'll snip it right off with my sharp pruning shears. She's my patient, don't touch her. You must stand apart. We have to have room," said Dr. Eisenbart. "I think that Maisie and her plant could help me get a research grant." And the door opened wide, and the mayor stepped inside. All meetings and gatherings there was none to compare. He was best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. "I promise, my friends, and if I'm re-elected, this daisy on Maisie will be disconnected. The law of our fathers is simple and sound. Daisies belong in and should stay in the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town." From the back came a voice, something loud, something slick. "Oh, the wheeler and dealer who knew every trick. I'm Fingal the agent. You've heard of me, I'm sure. I represent Young. What's his name? And others now on tour. But Maisie, you're so special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is a wondrous thing, unique in all the land. Daisy Head Maisie spelled out in bright lights will draw kids in the day and parents at night. Daisy Head Maisie, you've got quite an act. Just stick with me, kid, and sign the contract. Your flower needs to sign too." Her mother said, "Maisie, don't be a fool," and the principal begged her not to leave school. But Maisie didn't stop to blink. She signed her name in thick proof ink, and the daisy signed too. Daisy Head fever was gripping the nation. It had quickly become a worldwide sensation. Daisy Head burgers and Daisy Head drinks, Daisy Head stockings and Daisy Head sinks. Daisy Head buttons and Daisy Head bows. Daisy Head famous. Maisie was famous, the star of the show. Fame had knocked on Maisie's door. Now she had it all and more. Piles of money stacked in tens. But what is money without friends? A dream had led her far astray. What was the price she had to pay? Maisie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust, over and over again in her head. There are the words that poor Maisie said. I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Do you think that's true? I don't think that's true. Nobody loved her. Poor Maisie McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why then that's this Daisy above, when Maisie below began talking of love. Well, you know about daisies. When love is in doubt, the job of a daisy is to find out. They love her. They love her not. They love her. They love her not. Don't worry, Maisie. They love you. They love me. Well, that's how it happened. The thing went away, and Maisie McGrew is quite happy today, back in her studies and doing just great in all of her subjects in room number 8. And concerning that Daisy, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head ever again. Well, it practically never popped up there again, excepting occasionally, just now and then. And after all, I'm getting used to it, she says. All right, you guys. Thank you for coming to Circle Time today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're practicing your letters. All right, we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow.